Hey y'all, it is me and welcome back. I am Alethea Felton, your resilience architect, and I'm so happy that you are here with me today for this live. Now, let us get right into it because I want to speak directly to the leader in you. Whether you're building a business, running a company, creating some type of product, leading a team, whatever it is in your role in leadership, in your career, there is one thing that I do know for certain is that leadership comes with pressure, real pressure. And while we as leaders hear so much about strategy and we hear a lot about success, what we don't always talk about, what we don't always necessarily mention are those blind spots. It's the costly mistakes that quietly sabotage leaders' momentum as well as their peace. Now, granted, some of these costly mistakes are often done by people who are newer in leadership, but it can happen to even the most seasoned leader. So, the reality is this: almost 60% of new leaders do not make it past or beyond their second year. That's 60%. And then most of the time, it's not even because they're lazy or they're not qualified, but it is because no one ever necessarily pulled them to the side and said, watch out for this. Here's where leaders can typically lose their ground and lose their footing. So, regardless of the industry that you're in, whether it's in that corporate world, government sector, education, faith based, nonprofit, this is applicable to all people in any role of leadership. And so, today I want to walk you through five of the most expensive leadership mistakes that I see far too often and that the research even backs it, and to just offer you a quick shift or different way of how to handle this and manage it for each one. Nothing deep, nothing drawn out, just something to help you course out and map out and course correct so that you can move forward stronger. So let's dive in here. The first mistake is trying to do everything yourself, whether you call it perfectionism, protection, or I don't want to bother anyone. This is a costly mistake that leaders, especially newer leaders, can make. But even those of us who are seasoned with 20 plus years in leadership, such as myself, and some of you watching this have 30 and 40 plus years in leadership, this can still happen is that we can tend to micromanage or tend to say, well, it can't be done the right way unless I do it. But this is a costly mistake. I have been there before where you think if I want it done right, I may as well do it myself. But see, here is what most leaders fail to realize is that 69% of those employees, 69% of employees have thought about quitting or leaving because of a micromanager. And sometimes leaders will micromanage their team or those that they hire without even being aware of it. And then 36% of those 69% actually did leave. They left. And that's a third of your team walking away. Think of it that way. Not because your vision isn't or wasn't good, but it's because that person weren't um weren't feeling as if they were trusted to be a part of that vision. So the shift that happens here is learning how to delegate with clear direction, clear intent, not being fearful. See, avoid may currently avoid delegating rather because you may be overwhelmed. You just want it done right the first time. But the reason why delegation is so good is because you are building something bigger and it frees up your time for doing things that are more important on your list. And delegating can help you with something that one person can't hold or manage. All right. The second costly mistake that leaders in general, but often newer leaders do, is poor communication. Now, I'm not talking about people who don't talk much. Sometimes you can be a powerful leader and be a person of few words, but I'm talking about leaders who talk a lot but they say very little, talking loud and saying nothing. Okay, they are unclear, they're all over the place. Their message changes and flip flops and they're wishy washy. And then you always are asking, what in the world are they talking about? And these leaders assume that people ought to just get it. Well, I told them, no, no, you didn't because you weren't clear. And the result of it ends up being teams that lack the clarity and the certainty, and they end up being up to, get this, 50% less productive. There's an old saying that says a ship is only as strong as its captain. And in a lot of cases, that is the truth. But one of the most simple resolves for this is to communicate with precision and accuracy and consistency. Now, I can give you specific strategies for that, but of course, you would have to message me about that and we could talk more. But the simple thing is to talk with consistency, clarity, and then hold the space, pause enough to actually listen. There is a difference between hearing and listening. And the strongest leaders are not just great talkers, but they create the space for conversation as well as questions. Now, the third costly mistake, this is a huge one, y'all: avoiding difficult conversations. You may have built an empire, or you may just be starting off on your leadership journey. And sometimes, even the most seasoned of leaders have issues with having difficult conversations. Have those courageous conversations. And yes, it can be uncomfortable. I have watched people in leadership sit on things for months, even some clients that I've served sit on things, wait around, wishing like a genie that things will change and hoping that that particular issue will resolve itself. But data shows that 46% of employees who leave a job say that it is because their leader wouldn't address the huge elephant in the room. They wouldn't address problems. They would brush it aside, and they failed to give honest feedback. And avoiding hard conversations does not preserve peace, but rather it postpones conflict. See, the key breakthrough here is choosing to address things early, directly, and respectfully before they fester. Because once they fester, you know how a sore can get infected and it starts to stink and everything else. That's a terrible analogy, but I'm doing it for a reason. Well, metaphor. That's a terrible metaphor, but I'm comparing it because that's how it is when, as a leader, we avoid those courageous conversations. You're doing yourself a disservice if those are not had. But when you do have them, you not only are building trust, but you create a culture of accountability, a culture of people thriving and enjoy being under your leadership. Okay. The fourth costly mistake is swinging too far in one direction, over here, over there, or everywhere. See, trying to be everyone's best friend or ruling with fear and domination and control, either one will not cut it. So let me tell you, I have seen both sides of the spectrum. Even when I was working my 9 to 5, and even in leadership roles, and even with people that I've served, I've seen it both ways, and neither one works for long. When you're too nice and too sweet, and I'm not saying be mean, but you can be kind and still firm and direct. That's when you lose respect. And when you're too harsh and you dominate and it's your way or the highway, then you lose people. Compassion and humanity are still musts. And either way, your team will become aloof and disengaged. And so, learning how to lead with true essence and heart and with a backbone. Don't be flippy floppy or wishy washy. You know, there's a saying, I'm from the South, and there's an old school saying about don't be jellyback, meaning don't have a little wiggly back. You want to be a firm, standing strong, and confident leader. You don't want to be the kind of leader who is flip floppy, uncertain of yourself, says one thing, does something differently. No. And please know that you don't have to choose between being kind or being firm. The two balance themselves out. The most respected leaders are the ones who do both, and they do it well, and they navigate it beautifully. And in closing, mistake, the fifth costly mistake that new leaders, but also some seasoned leaders also have, is not valuing your team, not seeing them, not learning them, not knowing them, not celebrating them, not taking the time to truly listen to what they have to say in terms of their needs or even ideas. And this one is right costly. 46% of employees say that they have quit a job because they have felt unappreciated or invisible. Leadership isn't simply about what you do, it's about how people under your leadership feel in terms of their value and self respect. See, if people don't feel seen, they won't stay. So, the change here for the breakthrough is making recognition, support, and encouragement an ongoing, a regular part of how you lead, not simply something that you pull out once a quarter. And life can get busy and hectic, and sometimes we overlook it, but we must regroup, because also the person that is serving under your leadership, they're a leader in their own right as well. They may not have your exact role or title, but they lead in some capacity. And they may even want to learn how to lead like you, and you may end up being that mentor for them. And so, if any of those mistakes hit home to you, or even if you need greater clarity on how to bring this to your team, I want you to know this: you are not behind, you're not disqualified, you're not the only one who struggled to lead well. We're all works in progress, no matter how seasoned we are. And you're just in a moment where leadership, if any of these hit home to you, you're just in a temporary moment that's stretching you, and that means that you're growing. And if you are truly ready to take that leadership to the next level, please know that I support you. And I support leaders in a few different ways: through my speaking and my workshops and trainings, through digital product creation for those who are ready to really have breakthroughs, even when they present their ebooks or their workshops or their, workbooks or their, courses or things of that nature. And your brilliance wants to be shown different ways. And as I said, keynote speaking from teams, but also through Resilient Leaders Alliance, my membership community where leaders learn how to truly bounce back stronger and lead from overflow. and not burnout. And if you're tired of guessing and trying to figure it out all alone, reach out, message me, leave a comment. And I am so happy for you to even DM me, message me. And let's talk about what leadership looks like when it's aligned, when it is truly sustainable, and when it's resilient. You've got what it takes to lead even better than you are now, even if you're all the way up here, because leadership can get lonely at the top. And I'm here to help serve you. And you do not have to do things the hard way or alone. I'll see you next time.